This is Sixiron, my RuneScape-inspired solo Ironman character in Final Fantasy XI. What that means is no partying or trading with other players, and no use of the auction house or player bazaars. Last episode, Sixiron went back in time to search for the avatar born of Altana's tears, Kate Sid. And after joining and helping both the Knights of the Iron Ram and the Young Griffins, the regal feline made an appearance once more. She told me that she was able to freely move through time and had seen many possible futures. She wanted to end this war with the Beastmen before certain terrible and indelible events happened. She asked for my help to shrink the tidal wave of tears, if only by a few drops. Before she left, I asked her about Iroha and the future that she comes from. She suggested that we speak to Adamos, the destroyer of worlds. He feeds on futures that shall not come to pass, whose existence is forbidden. But the fact of the matter was simple. Iroha's future was not forbidden. As for Iroha herself, only those blessed by Altana can traverse time freely, and unfortunately for Iroha, she was not. But Kate Sith had an idea, a flash of inspiration. If I could somehow meet with the goddess, she could grant Iroha her blessing. The only problem was how to meet her. Kate Sith suggested that I work on setting things right in this past Vanadil in an attempt to please Altana. I went back to Sandoria, where I learned that Altenia's regiment was assigned a very dangerous mission. There was a very real chance that she would not be returning. She asked me once again to look after the Young Griffins. Speaking of the Young Griffins, it seems that Exenmile and Rahul were out on a Gigas scouting mission. I heard they had a little trouble on the previous mission, so I went to go check on them. When I found them in Funkril Inlet, Exenmile was having a fishing contest with the Gigas. Not something you see every day, especially in this era. Exenmile's line got snagged on something, and while trying to reel it in, an earthquake happened. The Gigas he was with lost his balance and sprained his ankle. Exenmile assigned me to go get a medical herb that grows nearby. And just like that, the Gigas was able to stand again. Exenmile gave me the carbon fishing rod that the Gigas had just given him, and then we returned to Sandoria. At the next meeting, Exenmile let slip that the brooches I had handed out for them were actually fitted with link pearls the Griffins could use to spy on the adults. From the pearls, they had learned that Altenia's regiment had been ambushed in Jugner Forest. They then received a transmission from the traitor, Temple Knight Devarel's link pearl. Devarel was with the orc from before, Zogbog. They were making plans to execute Altenia because she knew too much. She'd been captured by the orcs, but was still alive. Exenmile, Rahul, and I immediately left for Jugner, while the rest would stay behind and inform the adults of this sinister plot. We arrived just as Darvel drew his sword. The time to fight was now. After the battle, the rest of the adults arrived. Everyone was safe, and the traitor was apprehended. We could all go home. With a few more tears removed from the tidal wave, I could finally relax. After cleaning detail. I spent my leisure time in the tavern, where a much anticipated and famous dance troupe was slated to perform. It was there that I met a knight named Raglies. He was very friendly and singing me praises over some rumors he heard about a new recruit in the Knights of the Iron Ram. Apparently, the dances that the troupe performed could also be effective in combat. They were known as the pixies of the battlefield. The middle dancer, Lilisette, was a new addition to the troupe, but already extremely popular, even with me. After the show, I was talking to Sir Raglies when a certain regal feline showed up in plain sight. I followed her out to East Ronfar. I was talking to Kate Sith about the favor she asked of me earlier. Apparently, her ambitions were a little more grandiose than winning a few fights or battles. But our conversation was cut short when we were ambushed by the dancer troupe. It looked like Lilisette had some business with my feline friend, but Kate Sith was going to have none of it. She managed to escape and then flew off, leaving me alone with the troupe. Lilisette asked me a few questions about my relationship with Kate Sith. When I told her how we met, she seemed a lot less suspicious. While we were talking, we saw Sir Raglies and his knights about to leave to assist in the retaking of Laval. Lilisette knew something bad was going to happen there. She protested as much as she could, but was completely brushed off. After the knights left, she told me that the orcs were going to capture Laval and eventually rename it to Devoy. But they weren't supposed to be taking it now. Something was off. She had to go to Laval, and of course, I went with her. Just as she feared, Laval was under siege by beastmen. But it wasn't the orcs that were attacking. It was the Dark Kindred, the demons of the Northlands. During the chaos, Raglies wanted the Order of the Iron-Winged Butterfly to see the women and children to safety, but the commander was nowhere to be found. A knight from the Matter Falcon offered to lead us to a cavern to the west. He would take the troop and I with him to repel any enemies. It was a trap. We had been ambushed by a horde of demons. Luckily, Raglies had caught on to the scheme and made short work of the demons. Our escort Hadriel, on the other hand, had some backup. We were now face to face with two men dressed in purple, spite wardens of Lady Lilith, Hadrail, and Aquila. Aquila thought that his pet shadow dragon would be enough to take us on, but was sorely mistaken. With Aquila throwing a fit, Hadrail decided to retreat. Lilisette tried to stop him, but then he mumbled something about creation, good and evil, sacred and profane. I don't know. He knocked us out. Lilisette and I had a long conversation at the monastery about how she was also from the future. Sir Ragley's would be her father. His life would eventually be claimed from the wound he'd just received. But according to Lilisette, he was supposed to have been hit during the Battle of Juno. His diary never even mentioned Laval. History was changing. Lilisette believed that Kate Sith was behind all of this and was leading history down a path favoring the Beastmen. She vowed to take revenge on Kate Sith and to save her father. Lilisette then had the bright idea to pretend to help Kate Sith in order to lure her out to meet her again. We were a team now, which meant that I could get her to charge my race in Jima orbs and then ignore everything we just talked about for a long time. See you then!